Example 10. Comparison of human being and computer. To give you a better idea of the connections with ego consciousness, consciousness, and subconsciousness, I will give you an example based on the rough functions of a computer. The functions are quite similar. A computer has a mainboard. The mainboard is a circuit board on which various components of the computer are connected to each other. These are components such as 1. The CPU, the central processing unit. Consciousness represents the mental capacity of the human being. The CPU is the unit that provides the computing power of the PC, central processing unit. In short, the computer performance. 2. The operating system in the RAM, the ego consciousness. It represents the momentary subjective perception of the human being. Short-term memory. RAM, random access. Memory, all running processes and programs are temporarily stored in the RAM. The RAM working memory serves as a short-term memory. 3. BIOS is the information about the basic functions of the PC, the subconscious control of life. Action control programs, see chapter, action control programs, control by stress. Every time we wake up in the morning, these programs restart. This is also the seat of blockades from the area of instinct programming survival, which have arisen through highly stressful situations, which were classified by the subconscious as quasi-life-threatening. This is also the origin of psychosomatics, basic input-output system. It is the part of the computer's operating system that contains all the basic functions and initiates the start of the PC. The BIOS brings the PC to life. 4. The firmware BIOS is a special software program that is embedded in electronic devices and performs basic functions there. It combines the functions of the hardware with the functions of the application software. With a suitable BIOS update, the BIOS can be rewritten, updated. BIOS update, new positive action control programs. The reprogramming of the action control programs is triggered by the subconscious itself through the correct use of the 10 laws of evolution. See CS Therapy Seminar. 5. ROM, read-only memory. Subconscious with unchangeable contents, e.g., the 10 laws of evolution, avoid pain, avoid as much negative as possible, and experience as much positive as possible, instinct programming survival. ROM data can be called up again and again as often as desired. Changing or overwriting with other data is not possible. Read-only memory chips. 6. Hard disk is a changeable information storage and memory with experience memory, old habit patterns, learned changeable behavior patterns, thought patterns, etc. The ego consciousness is allowed to consciously access this area, retrieve memories, collect experiences, observing the rules and contents of BIOS and ROM. A hard disk stores data. The human being, just like the computer, can perform different activities. From working to playing, there are many possible uses. The PC can be sick with a virus, or it can just function slower and slower because its hard disk is too full. Its components can become old, or its programs produce more and more errors that hinder the clean functioning of the system. Man can be sick with a virus, or his body can become slower and slower and function worse as he gets older. The risk of disease or organ dysfunction increases with age. Thinking becomes more difficult. Short-term memory becomes worse. Memory has more and more gaps. The PC may be equipped with faulty, incompatible, or outdated drivers that make it impossible to work easily and smoothly with the PC. People are often trapped in their habits. Their habitual patterns can harm them in the long run if they are exaggerated and no longer oriented to the current situation. Negative behavior patterns in life, e.g. in eating, physical exercise, social interaction, stress, work, learning, etc., can harm the person. The demands on the PC change with the passage of time. One part of the software can be easily renewed, but other parts cannot. The demands on a person change over time. They can easily change some of their action patterns, but not others. There is the unchangeable software content in the ROM areas of the memory chips of the PC. There is the BIOS software. This information can be rewritten with special software. There is the software data on the hard disk. This can be easily changed. There is the software loaded into the RAM memory. This area is the fastest to change. Humans store memories, experiences. Experiences that serve to sustain life are in an area to which consciousness has no access. This area is only managed by the 10 laws of evolution, in this case Law 1 and 2. We call this area instinct programming survival. This area contains strong protective mechanisms for humans. Experiences that do not serve life support but contain burdens or pain are in an area to which consciousness also has access. This area is administered by the ego consciousness and by the 10 laws of evolution, in this case, Law 3 to 10, together. We call this area general pain avoidance or stress avoidance. This area also contains protective mechanisms for the human being and may be changed or expanded by the 10 laws of evolution and by the ego consciousness. The analogy between a human being and a computer serves the purpose of making the ranking and competence of the individual areas of human control more comprehensible. With a computer, you know that it waits for an input and that it then does or does not do something according to this action, depending on whether you have made the correct input or not. This is clear to anyone who has ever worked with a PC. It is no different with a mobile phone. Basically, the programs of a human being and the programs of a computer have a lot in common. However, the programs of a human being are not as obvious as those of a computer. The development of the programs progresses more and more with time. The requirements of a PC change with time. The BIOS is old, the operating system is old, the installed programs are old, the hard disk has lost data, and everything no longer fits today's requirements. In the same way, people can be ill with a virus or can perform less and less because they have too much load from different contradictory patterns of action. Brief summary. The comparison of humans and computers shows similarities in the ways they function. The mainboard of the computer connects different components with each other. The CPU of the computer corresponds to the consciousness of the human being and represents the mental capacity. The operating system in the RAM corresponds to the ego consciousness of the human being and represents the momentary subjective perception. The BIOS of the computer corresponds to the subconscious of the human being and contains action control programs that are controlled by load. The seat of blockages and instinct programming survival is in the area of the subconscious. This is also the origin of psychosomatics. The BIOS is the part of the computer's operating system that contains all the basic functions and initiates the startup of the PC. The firmware BIOS is special software that performs basic functions in electronic devices. With a suitable BIOS update, new positive action control programs can be added. The ROM is a read-only memory and contains unchangeable contents of the subconscious, such as the 10 laws of evolution. The hard drive is a changeable information store that is the computer's memory. Experiences, memories, old habit patterns, and learned behavior patterns are stored here. Humans and computers can perform different activities. The PC can become sick through viruses or full hard drives. The human being can become sick through illness or aging processes. The PC can become malfunctioning due to faulty drivers. The human being can suffer due to harmful habit patterns. Requirements for the PC and the human being change over time. The PC has unchangeable contents in ROM, updatable information in BIOS, and changeable data on the hard disk and in RAM memory. Humans store experiences and memories. There are two areas where experiences are stored: instinct programming survival and general pain or stress avoidance. The instinct area is managed by the 10 laws of evolution and contains protective mechanisms for humans. The stress avoidance area can be modified or expanded by the ego consciousness and the 10 laws of evolution. The analogy of man and computer serves to make the competence and ranking of the areas of man's control more understandable. The programs of man and the computer have many things in common. The programs of the human being are not as obvious as those of a computer. The demands on the computer and the human change over time. The human being can also become ill, e.g. through a virus or through contradictory patterns of action.